Hey everyone, how's it going? It's been some time since I've done another video, but the truth is I've been feeling like I've wanted to do things a bit differently lately rather than the things that I usually do where I write up a script and then just do all the editing, release the video out into the wild and then, get whatever feedback, comes and goes. And I'm at a point where I feel like I'm just honestly kind of done with that now. And now I wanted to consider getting into more organic forms of content, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is just, giving more of my raw experiences with, games, whether they be old or new, whether it's like something that I've played heaps of times and I'm doing a playthrough and you're seeing like, first-hand kind of footage and seeing like raw reactions from me, or perhaps a new game that's sent to me where I do like first impressions. Those are things I've been thinking about for the past few days, and I feel like, moving forward, that's where I sort of want to go now. So I'm kind of just done with the whole process of just writing up scripts, sounding kind of robotic, and then doing all of the editing and the videos just to like sort of pump it out, get it over with, and sort of move on. On top of that, I also wanted to share, maybe other parts of my life or other things that I'm also interested in. And for those that have known my channel, have known about the kind of videos I've done, the sort of games I've covered, some may also know that I have expressed my passion and love for racing games, more specifically the arcade racing games that I've covered some of. And that is something that still hasn't changed. And as of late, I've channeled into that passion more than I ever have before, that has expanded into taking a much bigger interest in automobiles and, like the mechanics behind vehicles and learning how to tune and learning how to handle vehicles ever, even opening myself up to, various driving techniques and getting into simulations that, wouldn't cost me an arm and a leg in real life. So that's why I'm not like going out and buying a car outright without knowing exactly what I'm doing, or at least until I'm comfortable enough to invest in a project car in mind that I'm still thinking of that, but I just haven't thought of a car specifically yet. Something cheap, like a shitbox or something, but that's just sort of, a thought in my own bubble that I'm thinking of doing in my own time at some point. And in the meantime, I'm just, experimenting with various cars in, sims like, say, Assetto Corsa or, even BeamNG. However, though, one thing over the past week that has sort of taken me over and it has gotten me more excited to get onto every time is to learn how to drift in a car. Drifting is one of those, event types in some of the racing games I've played that have been a blast to do, but I've always only ever played them on a controller, and I've never really known how to apply the proper techniques into initiating a drift and then holding it while keeping the throttle in control. It wasn't until I started, making the time and effort to use my steering wheel setup, which isn't the best, mind you, but it's all I've got for now. Using that would give me a close enough experience to, feeling what drifting is actually like on the wheel, and coming from, the controller experience to, say, the steering wheel experience is totally night and day. Like, I was a complete noob when I started. I throttled way too hard. I spun out of control so often that, it led to, like frustrations when I first started, because I couldn't quite click, the ideas and the approaches towards drifting and how it all worked. And at that time, it was more of like a feigning interest, which is probably why I never really improved further, even though I was sort of looking into it, and I guess I wasn't committed enough to do it. But however, though, over the past week, when I made it a goal, like a conscious effort to get better at it, I started seeing more results than I expected, because I had this mentality that just, wasn't there before when I first started learning how to drift on the wheel, for a brief period of time. And the first game that I was doing this with was CarX drifting, which I know isn't the most realistic experience, but I had heard at the time that it was one of the funnest drifting experiences and was like a good starting point for people that wanted to get into, drifting on the steering wheel and all that. So I thought, okay, perfect, CarX drift racing, let's do it. I had the Corolla and I spent most of the time just spinning around on the very first map. I was so bad that I couldn't even get a bronze trophy. And look, honestly, even up to this point, I'm still not very good. I've made lots of mistakes. I still have those habits of, sometimes losing control of the throttle and not knowing exactly when to stop, to then initiate the next drift without spinning around. And some cars are a lot harder to handle than I expected. Like as you saw with the Formula Drift car that I was just trying out, that car is ridiculously high in horsepower, and there is so much torque and the throttle goes up so quickly. And seeing some Formula Drift footage, I'm getting the impression that there's so much more to it than just what I'm trying to do, with the car in the simulation. Whereas I've had an easier experience with some of the other drift cars. This one though is just you either know how to properly handle it or you don't. And if you don't, then you need to look into what you're, missing and what you could be doing better. But each milestone that I have achieved in this pursuit of getting better at say handling cars on the wheel and getting better at drifting, it's also built up a lot more confidence over time. And it in a way sort of reflects to this mentality I've had for years and years when it comes to just driving on the road. And that mentality is that once you commit to a choice or a decision, you stick to it, even if it's not the best one. I've learned that while driving on the road, where I do turns or I accelerate or change lanes. I don't ever hesitate. I just do it. And I've noticed that when I apply that mentality into drifting in these games, or just in the Sims in general, once I know, okay, this is the angle I'm going to take, this is how fast I'm going to go, I'm going to handbrake it here, or I'm going to clutch kick at this corner or something, I'm going to keep my revs low, I just snap to a decision and I stick to it and then just hope for the best. I find that to be the easiest way to sort of, keep the nerves calm when, you're trying to do something that is quite challenging. And, drifting is something that just takes so much practice. Even after a week, I still feel like I have a lifetime to go. But I've never been so proud of myself when it comes to that pursuit of learning, driving techniques on a wheel. And I know it sounds ridiculous, because I know there's a lot of things in life where, you could be more proud of. But when it comes to, say, personal achievements, transferable personal achievements, it makes me feel more confident in the ability that I may be able to do this sort of thing one day in real life. And, it's not like that it's not impossible, because it has been seen in real life where people with way more experience that I have take this sort of experience into real life, and the results are not what you expect. And when I see stuff like that, that also motivates me even further. And because of these sort of transferable experiences, these are the kind of gaming experiences that I value so much more nowadays, where, whether it be through simulations or the kind of experiences where it's I could extract a certain skill, or, or something that gives me the idea of a skill that I could apply into real life. So, look, I know I hear about Hollow Knight Silksong, and, it's cool that it's out, but I just don't give a shit about it, And it's coming from someone that, years ago, played Hollow Knight, and I thought it was fantastic. But I'm just at a different point in my life where I'm just looking for something more now. And, I'm more in tune with the things that made me really happy as a kid, getting more into things like cars, car culture, automobiles, things that I was obsessed with as a kid. These sort of things that I've been getting myself into has actually deepened that relationship even further. So I feel like now that I've sort of found my happy medium within gaming, sort of a sense of belonging, rather than just trying to fit in with whatever crowd is out there in, the next popular game or something. I mean, I may still make time for other games here and there, but I'm not dedicating my entire life to covering all sorts of games anymore. It's just it'll be more of a spur of the moment if I feel like it, if the vibe is there, sort of thing. But moving forward, I want to do more stuff like what I've been doing over the past week, on top of, you know, experiencing more things, you know, making more organic forms of content, you know, if that makes sense. I know I'm, you know, all over the place here, but that's just what happens when you go off script. And this is like coming from someone that's done years and years of writing scripts and uploading videos from that sort of format. So this is still something new to me, and, you know, well, not really true, because I have sort of done this a little bit, you know, at one point, and then I said I missed writing, but now I don't really miss it because, you know, I just don't really enjoy that kind of content anymore, which is why, like, you know, I just can't be fucked. So moving forward, this is the sort of stuff I'm going to be doing now, and, you know, hopefully some people will understand and respect that decision. You know, if you don't, that's cool. I'll still be doing it because that's what I want to do. So anyway, that's all I really wanted to sort of say for the time being. And, you know, who knows what the next video will be? Who knows what I'll be doing next? But either way, I'm still going to be committed to this goal and this journey of, you know, getting better at drifting on the wheel, getting better at, you know, understanding like certain cars and understanding car culture more. And, you know, even looking at other types of racing games or other experiences related to that sort of thing, you know, to sort of further explore these newfound and, you know, realized feelings of something that's been with me for the longest time that I can remember. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. You know, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.